Hello and welcome to my live stream. This is a new one that I'm doing. It is called Real Health Solutions with Ayurveda Meditation and Yoga. My name is Michelle Fondin. I am an Ayurvedic practitioner, a meditation teacher, and a yoga teacher. I've been practicing for about 11 years now. Believe it or not, I can't believe it. And welcome to my channel. If you're new, please do like and subscribe. And this is brand new for me. This is so new for me as far as doing this on the live stream. So I've done live streams before, but doing a live stream on Ayurveda yoga and meditation, this is new. So whether there is one viewer or 50 viewers, it doesn't really matter because this is going to be captured and it'll be recorded and it will be on my YouTube channel. So you will be able to view it as many times as you want. So I just wanted to let you know, I am the author of The Wheel of Healing with Ayurveda, an easy guide to a healthy lifestyle. This is a book for beginners who have never ever been exposed to Ayurveda before. With this book, The Wheel of Healing with Ayurveda, I made the Wheel of Healing with Ayurveda companion workbook. This is if you want to dig deeper, if you're really wanting to delve deeply into your health issues and problems, definitely pick up both of these. They really work in conjunction with one another. Now, if you want a little bit of a primer on Ayurveda, and this is a course, this is the Secrets of the Wheel of Healing. This is an audio course. There are 8 CDs. There's a workbook actually that comes with this. So if you don't have a whole lot of time, this one also comes on Audible books. Next that we're going to talk about here in this live stream is Enlightenment Medicine, Your Power to Get Well Now, an integrative approach to healing the 7 deadly lifestyle diseases. Now, one thing I want to let you guys know, I am not a medical professional. I am an Ayurvedic practitioner. I do not have a medical degree. Therefore, if you do have medical questions, please consult with your healthcare practitioner. These are practical tips and advice. And really, you have to look at it as practical tips and advice just for dealing with some lifestyle issues, health issues, having to do with maybe things like anxiety, insomnia, depression, maybe hypertension, but you're being treated by medications. Maybe the medications aren't really working, and you would like some natural solutions to help those medications along. So I'd like to welcome Tirma and Bazurka. Hi, how are you guys? So happy that you could join me today on this new Q&A on health and health issues. So I'll give you a little bit of background with me. So I studied with Deepak Chopra and Vasant Lad, both Ayurvedic practitioners. Deepak Chopra's an MD, and that's where I got my certification. And Ayurveda made a lot of sense for me. So I had cancer when I was 28. I had thyroid cancer. And I did the traditional medical trajectory for that cancer. And I was thrown for a loop because everything happened so fast that I really didn't have time to think about it. I didn't have time to ask the proper questions that I really wanted to ask. And I didn't have the time to do a whole lot of research either because I felt like by all the medical people, I was being pushed. Like, you got to do this fast. You got to do this fast. You got to do this now. You have to make these decisions now. And the thing was, I was very young, being 28. You don't know any better, obviously. But intuitively, I had been practicing yoga since age 18. So intuitively, I knew there must be something else. I knew that there must be a way that I could take care of my health and not have to just do the Western medical approach. Really, for me, I just felt that on the inside. So I really wanted to do some research, and that's how I came upon Ayurveda and Ayurvedic medicine. So just to give you guys a little background, Ayurveda is a mind-body medicine. It's a mind-body medical system. That's what I wanted to say. A mind-body medical system from India. It's a 5,000-year-old medical system that takes the person as a whole. So it's whole health, okay? We also in the Western world call it MindBody Health. So it's whole health. It's everything, right? So it's mind, body, soul, spirit, emotions, your relationships, your finances, your home life, your friends, everything, your job, your occupation. And so when we are looking at a person and they're dealing with some health issues, we need to look at that person as a whole person versus just a set of symptoms. Now, the Western model is designed to just look at people as a set of symptoms, right? And traditionally, that was the way that Western medicine was formed. And interestingly enough, in this book, I give the history on how Western medicine was formed. It was crazy. So the two largest medical systems that were rising at the time in the United States, at the time that Western medicine was forming, was homeopathy and the Western model as we know it now. Homeopathy was actually healing people. If you know anything about homeopathy, the principle is kind of like the principle of vaccination. It works with dosages of plants that are so minuscule, but they're going to have an effect on the body that they help to heal you as far as it's like giving you a dose of the symptoms or giving you a dose of the disease, but in a plant form so that your body begins to know how to heal. It's that body's intelligence that begins to know how to heal. Now, the thing is, these homeopathic remedies, they formed with plants. So it was relatively easy. You could do it at home. You could make these mixtures at home. And it was cheap. It wasn't expensive at all. So doctors in the Western model, they were known about 200 to 300 years ago to kill more people because they used things like bloodletting, giving doses of arsenic, and just a whole lot of other things that really made more people die than healed people. So what happened was, though, these Western practitioners were going to medical school. Well, they got out of medical school, they needed to make a living. What they saw was that these homeopaths were actually very, very effective because people were afraid to go to traditional doctors because most people died. And what they did was they outlawed homeopathy. So they actually outlawed homeopathy, so the Western model was the only thing that stuck. They began to regulate it and model it so that anybody else who practiced any other type of medicine, outlaws, thrown in jail. So that's really how it came about, and that's how it really rose to being. Judy, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thanks. So if you guys have any health questions or just questions about Ayurveda in general, if you don't, totally fine. This is the first live Q&A for Ayurveda, meditation, yoga, and even meditation questions. If you guys have questions about meditation or meditations about or questions about yoga as well, I've been a yoga practitioner for 26 years, a teacher for 11 years, so I can certainly answer your questions as well. So basically, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of education about Ayurveda and Ayurvedic medicine. So, actually first, I wanted to give you guys a statistic. And this is a statistic just for the United States. I know that some of you that view this video are coming from outside of the United States, but this is just for the United States. And it's in the beginning. It's actually page 1 of Enlightenment Medicine, Your Power to Get Well Now. So this is a statistic, but this is an old statistic. So I know these numbers have gone up. Hi, Chrissy. How are you? So this statistic is, in 2014, about 133 million U.S. adults, we're not talking about kids, U.S. adults had at least one chronic illness. Now, just 3 years later, in 2017, that number was already up to 150 million U.S. adults who suffer from at least one chronic illness. And 100 million in 2017, 100 million U.S. adults suffer from at least 2 chronic illnesses. So just think about it. These are chronic lifestyle illnesses. Now, the thing about lifestyle illnesses is that they are 90% preventable and reversible. And that's something that people don't think about. They don't think about the fact that, okay, so what is the U.S. population? That's the other thing. What is the U.S. population? It's around, 330 million maybe? I'm not sure. It's around there. If someone can Google it and let me know, that would be great. So if the U.S. population is around 330 million, around there, and in 2017, which I'm sure the number's higher now, in 2017, there were 150 million US adults with at least one chronic lifestyle illness. That's roughly half of the population, right? So, what is Western medicine doing for chronic lifestyle illness? The only thing they really do is give you medications. So, really, what my mission is and what I'm here to teach you, and maybe you're not the person suffering from a chronic lifestyle illness, maybe it's a loved one. Maybe it's grandma, grandpa, or one of your sisters or brothers, or maybe it's mom or dad. Maybe it's a best friend. And so if you learn these principles and if you understand the principles of integrative medicine, so integrative medicine, of course, is just taking the Western model, what you need to take from the Western model, and take that and using other healing modalities really to help you and help your loved ones to heal and reverse disease. Because if you think about it, like, lifestyle disease doesn't only affect people on a personal level, right? It affects families and it affects their finances as well. So it's just all these things that you really need to think about when you think about the integration of it all. Hey, Berserka, thank you so much. Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. Thank you. Thanks for joining me, you guys. I know that for a few of you, I know that you're basically watching because you like my YouTube channel. Thank you. But also because you're watching Twin Flame videos, which is awesome. But really, if you think about it, like, health affects us on all levels, right? So it's not only our spiritual health, it's our emotional health, it's our physical health, it's all aspects of health as well. It's how we eat, right? And Ayurveda considers that food is medicine. So how we eat, what we ingest and put into our bodies, like how we're sleeping. Most people wouldn't even think of that, right? So Ayurveda helps to heal through balancing mind-body, okay? Hi, Leanne. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me. So I'm going to introduce you guys to the 3 Ayurvedic doshas. If anyone is already on the live chat, if anyone is already familiar with Ayurveda, please let me know. It's super duper fascinating. The reason why I gravitated toward Ayurveda in the first place, in Ayurveda it's spelled like this. It's Ayurveda. So Ayurveda comes from 2 words. Oh, hi, you're Vata? Okay, yeah, I'm very Vata too. It comes from 2 words. So Ayur is from Ayus, and Veda so it's life or science. So it's the science of life. Basically, Veda means knowledge, science, right? So Ayus means life. So it's basically the science of life. The reason why I was so drawn to Ayurveda when I was healing from my crazy trip with cancer, the reason why it resonated with me is because Ayurveda takes you to the root cause of the problem. It takes you actually to the root of the problem. And let me give you an example. I had a yoga and Ayurveda client that came to me, it was about 10 years ago. He came to me for an Ayurvedic consultation. Now, it was one of those things where he had gotten a Groupon. He was kind of curious. He was like, okay. And he was this man, super duper healthy. He went to a vegetarian lifestyle. He was working out at the gym every day. He started taking yoga with me. And he said that he had had a heart attack at age 47, and he had a stent put in. And he said, I don't really understand why I had a heart attack. He's like, I'm pretty healthy. I'd always eaten pretty healthy. I worked out at the gym. I'm called a gym rat. People call me a gym rat. And I don't understand why I got this heart attack. So, he went off the deep end after the heart attack. He was just at the gym every day and going vegetarian or vegan. He went way off the deep end, meaning it scared the heck out of him. And a good looking guy. I think when he came to see me, he was around 51. So, he didn't look his age. He looked much younger, and he was super duper healthy. And so as we were talking during the consultation, I got his health history, because in Ayurveda, that's what we do. We get the health history, what's going on with your life? But not only health history, we go, well, okay, so what are your relationships like? What is your marriage like? Are you married? Are you single? Do you have kids? What is your home life like? What are your parents like? Do you have a relationship with your parents? What is your job like? Do you like your job? And this is actually a statistic, funnily, from one of Deepak Chopra's audio programs, that there are more heart attacks in men at 9 a.m. on Monday mornings. Go figure. What is the reason for that? You tell me. You put it in the chat below. So I was talking to him about this heart attack and saying, well, like, what was happening around that time? Oh, I went through a divorce. Okay. Yeah, but everything's okay now. I said, okay. Well, I'm thinking that heart attack was maybe linked to the heart chakra, and the fact that you were going through the divorce had a lot to do with that heart chakra going into mourning or grieving. And he was like, why would you ever think that? I'm like, because mind, body are connected. That's why. Otherwise, he was living a very, very, very healthy life. So that's what Ayurveda does. It takes you back. It kind of backtracks and kind of tries to find that root cause of how, if we don't know the genesis of disease, then we can't heal it. That's really what it is. If we don't know the genesis of the disease, it's really hard to heal it because it could be chronic, right? And a lot of illnesses are chronic. So Chrissy said she's been gluten-free, vegetarian for 17 years. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Chrissy, maybe you can enlighten me. So enlighten me about the whole gluten thing. So here's the thing, guys. Ayurveda works to help you balance mind, body, soul, spirit, and all the ancient texts of Ayurveda. Now, granted, this is from India. Indians eat a lot of bread. They eat a lot of bread. They eat a lot of dosas and naan and rice, right? But they eat a lot of like wheat products and rice products, but a lot of wheat products too. And so the philosophy of Ayurveda is if you are balanced, if your doshas are balanced, so dosha means mind, body, type. So if you are balanced in mind, body, you can eat anything you want. Now, you wouldn't want to eat certain foods, right? You're not going to live your life on Pop-Tarts, or you're not going to live your life on potato chips. I don't think that was the intention with that. But it just means that if everything is integrated and balanced in your body, you really should be able to eat anything, the diet for all three doshas. You don't have to just focus on one of the doshas. So, but the whole gluten movement, the movement away from gluten, I'm just curious as to why that is and why so many people are gluten intolerant. And in my book, this one, the Enlightenment Medicine book, I write a lot about pesticides and herbicides. And for a lot of people who are very sensitive to chemicals, I believe that a lot of the gluten stuff is an increased sensitivity to pesticides and herbicides, which on wheat in the United States, holy moly, they use so many chemicals on wheat if it's not organic. So that's just my question there. I don't know. I don't know about the whole gluten thing. Okay, so Ayurvedic doshas. Ayurvedic doshas. Okay, are you guys ready to play a little game? I'm gonna tell about the doshas, and then you're gonna say to me which Ayurvedic dosha you think you might be. Okay? So the first Ayurvedic dosha is called Vata, V-A-T-A. Let me preface this by saying the Ayurvedic doshas are comprised of the 5 elements of space, air, fire, water, and earth. Space, air, fire, water, and earth. Those are the 5 elements that exist everywhere in the world, everywhere on the planet, everywhere outside of the planet, and in the universe. And our bodies are comprised of these 5 elements. Now, because of our genetic makeup, everybody has a different proportion naturally. Everyone has a different proportion of these 5 elements. Now, some of us have more space and air. Some of us have more fire and water. Some of us have more earth. So the combination of those elements are called the doshas, or mind-body types. So we're going to go over the 3 Ayurvedic doshas, and you guys are going to guesstimate, just based on your body type and mind type, which dosha you might have as a predominant dosha. So let me just tell you, it's pretty darn rare that a person is a single dosha type, meaning it happens, but it's rare that a person's a single dosha type, meaning like they have a very, 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 very dominant single dosha type. Most people are two combined as dominants, and very, very, very rarely are people tridoshic, or three. All three are equal. Okay, there's always going to be one dominant or two dominant. Okay, so the first one is Vata, V-A-T-A. It's comprised of the elements of space and air. Okay, a Vata type is naturally very super energetic. Their bodies are very thin. So you've got a thin body. They have a hard time gaining weight as kids. Sometimes as adults, you see that shift and change. But as kids, they have a hard time gaining weight. They're always running, always moving. They like to pace a lot. They're very creative. A lot of people call them airheaded. They're very creative. They live in their head. They live in the ethers. They live in space. They live with air element. They tend toward anxiety and worry, and they have a tendency to talk fast, especially when they're out of balance. They are connectors. They make lots of friends or acquaintances. They're able to make people laugh. So a lot of comedians are very Vata. A lot of people in theater are Vata. Artists are Vata. Musicians are very Vata. So all that creativity aspect is a lot of Vata energy. So the sense organ the two sense organs for Vata are hearing, right? So hearing, because air moves through, and touch. Okay, so if you want to make a Vata happy, touch them. Give them nice hugs. So that's Vata type. Pitta is comprised of fire and water. So fire and water, they seem like they're opposing forces, right? They seem like completely the opposite. But when you put them together, they transform something. So let's take the example of making a batch of brownies or something like that. You put the ingredients together. So you put the eggs and the oil and the flour and the chocolate powder and baking soda or salt, and you mix it all up. Well, it's this wet, gloppy mess, right? But you put it into the oven, you put it into the heat, and it transforms into something else. So then when you come out, you have brownies. But if you were to sift through those brownies that are now cooked and look for the eggs, look for the oil, you couldn't find it, right? Because it's been completely transformed. So Pitta types are mesomorphic, right in between. They're not fat, they're not skinny, they're just right down the middle, okay? They have very penetrating eyes. Their eyes are usually their most beautiful feature. When they look at you, it's usually very warm, and it feels like you're drawn to them, just like you're drawn to a warm fire to warm your hands. They're usually very good-looking people, very muscular, so they tend to have a lot of muscles and a muscle definition. They have a very heavy appetite, meaning like they are hungry a lot. They have this digestive fire that's very strong, and so they're usually hungry, and you have to feed them on time, or they get very angry. And they usually sleep for very short amounts. They don't like sleeping for long periods of time. They'll sleep like 4 or 5 hours a night. And they're drivers, right? So they are going for the goal with purpose. They're leaders, goal-oriented, moving toward that goal. Like the fire, right? Fire spreads, same thing. They tend to sweat a lot because of that water element and the heat combined together. So that is a Pitta type. And when they're out of balance, they tend toward anger. So Vatas tend toward anxiety, Pittas tend toward anger, okay? And then Kapha types is a third mind-body type. Now, none of these are right or wrong. It's just who you are. It's your genetic makeup. It is the cards you were dealt at the time of your conception. There's nothing you can do to change them. So Kapha type comprised of water and earth. Now, when we combine water and earth, we get mud, right? So it's very murky. It's like wet and viscous and heavy. So if you're ever at the beach and your kids or a kid you're watching fills up a pail with sand, it's not that heavy. I mean, it's heavy, but not that heavy. Now, if they fill that pail with sand and water, oh my God, it's horrible. You can't even carry that thing. It's very, very heavy. So same thing about Kapha types. Kapha types, they tend to be on the heavier side. Even if they're fit, they tend to be heavy. Everything about a kapha type is slow. They move slow, they think slow, they talk slow, they walk slow. They don't walk, they saunter. And they're very loving people. They're loving, compassionate, loyal. They're very trustworthy. They have a tendency to hold on to things though. So on the flip side, for a kapha type, they tend toward like saving things. They might hoard things. They tend towards sweets. They really like sweets. They like things that smell good and taste good. So their two sense organs really for the kapha type is the nose and taste. For Pitta, it's the eyes. So remember I started by saying Pitta, it's the eyes. So for a kapha type, they have a hard time losing weight. So they might say, I can look at a piece of cake and gain 10 pounds. So that's a kapha type. So for those of you that are watching and that are on the chat, based on those 3 Ayurvedic doshas, which one do you think you might be? Or which 2 do you think you might be if you feel like there's a combination of 2? Now for me, and in the book I do have the MindBody Ayurvedic type test. So basically the test looks like this. And there are 20 questions for each of the doshas. Yeah, so Terma said, I think I'm Vata in the mind and Kapha in the body. Yeah, that's totally possible. Absolutely. It's very possible. Now, some Ayurvedic dosha tests divide the tests into mind and body for that specific reason. And for some people, it's not that stark. So it's not that stark separation between, like, let's say a Kapha body and a Vata mind, right? It's not, but for others it is. It really is. So I will give you an example. My son Matthew, who's 21, super skinny his whole life, completely skinny, but he has very much a kapha mind. So he's very gentle and he's slow the way he talks, and he's very like compassionate and loving and kind and just not quick to anger. And he likes to sleep a lot, and he withdraws if like there's too much pressure. He just like, no, I don't want to deal with it. So the kapha mantra is, no, I don't want to deal with it. The vata mantra is, what did I do wrong? And the pitta mantra is, what did you do wrong? Very much true. So we have a lot of vata energy here, apparently. So Sasaki says, I think I'm vata. Chrissy says vata. Bazurka says vata. And yeah, that's really interesting. Well, you know, here's the other interesting thing is that Vata types are going to tend to try things new. So the fact that you guys are here on the live chat about Ayurvedic yoga and meditation, trying something new, says that that's probably correct. The Vata types are going to try something new. They always want the newness. So since you guys resoundingly seem to be a lot of Vata among you, let me just tell you a little bit more about Vata, and you can like confirm whether or not this really is you. So Vata types, because I'm Vata, okay, let me just tell you what I am. So I am mostly Vata with a fair amount of Pitta. Okay, so Pitta is the fire and water. And for me, very little Kapha. Now, lately, for the past year, since I was in a job that didn't allow me to exercise as much as I wanted to, unfortunately, I accumulated some kapha in the way of weight from non-movement. I was standing for my job, which you think you'd still lose weight, but not so. Not if you're standing, not moving. So, so you can get out of balance. That's the thing. You have your baseline, and when you do an Ayurvedic mind-body test, you can see your baseline. Your baseline is where you need to be to feel your best and optimal and not feel like off kilter, not starting to have symptoms. And so your baseline is usually one dosha dominant, the second dosha that's secondary dominant. So for me, it's Vata and Pitta and just very little Kapha, okay? And so so Leanne says Pitta and Kapha. Okay, cool. So would you say, Leanne, that Pitta is your dominant dosha then? So let me just tell you, since there were a lot of Vatas, let's start with Vata. So it's very Vata to start a lot of projects and to not finish them. That is very Vata. Because Vata types are so excited. They want to try everything. It's so exciting. There's a great big world out there. I just want to try everything. But they don't tend to finish much. They have a hard time finishing stuff. So it's very Vata to have an entire stack of books on the nightstand, and you've read maybe the first 50 pages on many of those books, but you haven't finished them. Okay, so that's very Vata. It's very Vata to go to a party and make a lot of acquaintances and get a lot of phone numbers or emails or Instagram accounts or whatever people do these days, and be like, yeah, we're totally going to meet. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be super. And then, like, you get home and you forget, like, half the people you met. Because Vata types, they learn really quickly, but they forget really quickly. So Vata types tend to be really bright on tests when they have to cram the night before. So if they cram for a test the night before, they're going to really super duper remember. And then, like, after the test, they're going to forget everything. That's very Vata type. It's very Vata type to be erratic in behavior. So for example, that you're going to eat not at the same time every day. You're not going to sleep at the same time every day. When you have a workout routine, you're going to get very bored. So you're not going to stick to your workout routine if it's the same thing over and over and over again. So that is Vata. Next week in the live Q&A, what we can talk about is we can talk about the diseases of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. We'll talk about a little bit about the diseases. So Leanne is, let's see. Oh yeah, totally. So Leanne said Pitta and Kapha. So for Pitta types, now it's funny because Pittas kind of get a bad rap, but bad rap meaning with that fiery element, Leanne, the dominant dosha just means like that is the dosha that you feel is the strongest in you, the real driving force in you. Okay. And like I said, this one has the Ayurvedic MindBody type test in it. So, yeah, Berserk is like reconfirming Vata. And this one has the test to show your imbalances. This one shows your imbalances. The other one shows where you are when you are balanced. So Pitta types, they do get a bad rap because of that fire element. So let's just put it this way. A lot of type A personalities are very Pitta. Okay, type A personalities. The type A personality or the Pitta type will have a tendency when they're irritated to send that toxic email, and they feel so much better, but they've just burnt down the whole town. You get it? So it's kind of like they're trying to correct the world and make sure the world doesn't have anything like not correct according to their model. And so they're highly critical, which can be a good trait, right? So if you're doing a project, let's just suppose, and this is why I say Pittas get a bad rap. Let's just suppose you're building a house, and a house has to be built up to code. Now you are I don't know what it's called, the manager of overseeing the project to build the house. And you're a Pitta type though, right? So you are the manager that, I don't know what they're called, the foreman or something like that, that's overseeing this project. You have to make sure that darn building's up to code. So if your plumber, your electrician, your builder, if they're not doing things up to code, then it's your job to go in there and correct them to make sure that otherwise the whole project's going to get shut down. So we need that. Don't think that we don't need that. We need leaders, right? Pittas are leaders. Pittas are okay to stick out their necks for other people. We need those leaders, right? So Pitta types are the leaders. They're the ones sticking out their necks so other people can have accomplished products, right? Accomplished things, accomplished products. They're the politicians, they're the lawyers, they're the doctors, they're the CEOs of companies. Like, that is Pitta. So the reason why I have so much Pitta, like I'm majority Vata, but I have a lot of Pitta, I can finish things. I'm able to finish things. And that is that Pitta drive, that I'm actually able to finish things. And Pitta gives you discernment as well. Discernment of like right and wrong, and like helping you understand like how to filter through people that may not have your best intentions at hand, because they're very judgmental, right? So I am, if you were to take it to Myers-Briggs, I'm an INTJ. Okay, INTJ. There is that judgment thing. So that's a Pitta. Now, when Pittas get out of balance, yes, they get irritated. Yes, they get angry. Yes, they get critical. But Pitta types also have a tendency to get critical toward themselves. They tend to criticize themselves a lot. So you see a lot of health problems in Pittas. Pittas have very hearty digestion and a very hearty appetite. So they have a very strong digestion, and physiologically their bodies can be very strong. But because of the stress levels that they tend to take on, they tend to have a lot of problems. So heart problems can be a Pitta disorder, blood problems, and metabolic problems tend to be. That's just to give you guys an example. Okay, so Kapha, yeah, Chrissy says, yeah, so Chrissy, you probably have a lot of Vata in you, where you said that you have a stack of books that are probably not finished and you never eat at the same time. Hi, Agnes. How are you? Oh, thank you so much. Agnes asked about the chakra videos. I will do the next chakra video tomorrow, likely. It'll be posted tomorrow or Saturday. So, yeah, and it's okay. You know, honestly, here's what I say about the Ayurvedic doshas is that you really must embrace who you are and not be ashamed of who you are. And it's in knowing who you are as far as mind, body type. In Ayurveda, the beauty of knowing who you are and knowing your weaknesses and your strengths is to get back into balance, get back into health. If you don't know who you are as far as like what your strengths and weaknesses are, then you're going to have a hard time getting back to health. That's really where Ayurvedic health and whole health really works, because if you think about any healing modality, the basis of any healing modality is to get you back into balance. Really, that is the basis of any healing modality other than Western medicine. Western medicine doesn't work on balance, you guys. Western medicine works on scaring the body through copious amounts of lethal medications in order to scare your body back into health. And that's actually exactly how Western medicine was formed. And like I said, the extreme measures that they took 250 years ago to try to get people into health was based on a very, 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 very ancient model. And the Western pharmaceutical situation was formed around this very, very ancient model. And so that's why medications today have such huge side effects. That's why. Is because instead of taking the active and inactive ingredients in plants, for example, because most pharmaceuticals are formed from plants at their origin, instead of taking the active and inactive ingredients, which is very gentle on the body. That's why herbs take longer to work than pharmaceuticals. They just take the very, very active ingredient, and that's what they put in prescription medications, and it shocks the body. The body can't handle such strong doses of this active ingredient. So Chrissy asks, which dosha tends to be empaths? So if you think about it, receiving information intuitively comes from the air and space elements. So the air and space elements, which is, the upper chakras, is Vata. It's very Vata. Yeah, definitely. But that doesn't mean that Kaphas can't be empaths. It doesn't mean that Pittas can't be empaths, because you've got to remember that every single person has all 5 doshas. Has all 5 elements, or all 3 doshas, right? So every single person has it. It's just the varying amounts, right? So For example, for the Pitta type, which they have a lot more water and fire in their mind-body constitution, the water and fire elements are in the second and third chakras, which are very earthy, earthbound chakras, if you will. So for Pitta types, they have a harder time embracing the whole psychic intuitive thing, and they just have to work harder at it, unless if they have a fair amount of vata, and that's really how it goes. But yeah, that's the tendency for that. Yeah, so for kapha types, because I talked about vata and in a little more detail. I talked about pitta in a little more detail, and now let's talk about kapha in a little more detail. So, as I mentioned, kaphas are comprised of water and earth, which is very much first and second chakras. If you're talking about elements being tied to the chakras, the first and second chakras are very much that earthy energy, right? So it's water and earth combined, which kapha types tend to be really grounded, which is amazing. So I always say every hardcore vata needs a kapha friend. They really need a kapha friend to keep them nice and grounded, because the ungroundedness of vata really needs that counterbalance. And in fact, the way you heal your dosha, if it is out of balance, is doing the opposite, right? So if you are a vata out of balance, then you need to eat kapha foods, or kapha like earthy foods, like with earth and water elements, in order to balance your vata, to bring it back to where it's supposed to be. And if you're a kapha, you need to eat more air and space foods in order to bring your kapha back to balance, so it doesn't get out of balance. So that's how it works. But a kapha type, being very earthy, right, is very heavy. So everything about them is like heavier, it's grounded, it's earthy. They have great stamina. Usually kapha types have great stamina and great health. Amazing health. And really good stamina as well. So kapha types do really well like running marathons, if you can get them off the couch, because they like to take it easy. They're really good like in meditation, because they like to sit still. They don't really like moving around much. They're really good listeners because, again, they're not going to walk away from you. They're very loving, compassionate, and kind people. They're the kind of people in companies that you really need to help run your company, because they will make sure that everything is done A to Z, and they're not going to skip steps. They're not going to go from like A to Q to X to B to C to D. Like, they are going to be so faithful to you as an employee that they're going to make sure that everything is done as it should be done and that no steps are missed. So kaphas are super great to have work for you in a company. Usually they're seen as like administrative assistants or executive assistants, because that is the role that they thrive in the most, because they want to be meticulous and take it slow. And so like they're the ones that you want to dot the I's and cross the T's. That's really, they make good editors too for that reason, right? A good editor, because a good editor, again, is going to make sure there are no mistakes. But they're not critical. Now, the thing about kapha types, they hold grudges against you because they never forget anything. They will never forget anything. They might forgive, but they don't forget. So if you're talking to a kapha type and they're like, well, remember in 1923 when you said this to me? You're like, what? I wasn't even alive in 1923. Well, I remember. It's just those things, like they don't forget. Leanne, it's not called bipolar. It's called bidoshic, meaning like you're allowed to have two dominant doshas. Most of us do. Most of us have two dominant doshas. So let's talk about, what do you guys want to talk about? Give me like a lifestyle disease or a lifestyle disorder. And again, we'll go over this more. We've got a few more minutes, but we'll go over this more in the second live chat on this, and about like which diseases tend to show up in certain doshic imbalances. But like if there's something that you're curious as to, like, oh, I'm a Vata and I tend to have this problem. Is that a Vata disorder? Is that a Vata imbalance? Or is it a Pitta imbalance? Or is it a Kapha imbalance? So I'm going to give you an example. So an example is, since Vata is comprised of space and air, what do you do when you want to dry your hair? You use air, right? So air makes your hair dry. It makes your skin dry. And one of the symptoms of a Vata type when they're out of balance is they tend to get constipated. And a lot of Vata types or pure Vata types tend to deal with chronic constipation. Like, that is one thing. They have a really hard time using the restroom. Maybe once or twice a week, or maybe every day. And so, like, that is something that tends to be chronic in a Vata type if they're not balanced. So remember that if you are balanced, you should be symptom-free. Symptoms are a sign that something is off. Symptoms are a sign that you are out of balance. And Ayurveda gives you a way of rebalancing your doshas, your mind-body types, or the variation of mind-body type that's good for you before disease has an opportunity to form. Because one thing you must know, disease is actually formed years before the eruption of symptoms. Okay, disease is formed years or decades before the eruption of symptoms. Okay. Well, I think I have a mixture of all three, more Vata and Kapha in the body, but definitely a mixture. Yeah, so, I mean, we do, for Terma, we do have all three. There are always one or two dominant. Okay, there are always one or two dominant. The way I like to say is that if you're confused, and I did produce a video on this one, if you are confused about which of your doshas are dominant, if you're like caught in the middle of two, for example, and you're really like confused and going like, which one is dominant? Because I want to know which one to treat first in order to get back into balance. And I would say look to your imbalances. Look to what tends to happen as your body goes out of balance. Everyone has their symptoms. I mentioned one for Vata, that's constipation. Okay. Racing thoughts is another one for Vata. Anxiety is another one for Vata. Dry skin, dry eyes, dry mouth is another one for Vata. Okay. So those are some symptoms that as you're moving out of balance, that would be the Vata moving out of balance. Okay. So Suzaki says, how can I be balanced? Oh, thank you. Great question. So really that's why we are doing this live Q&A, to really enlighten you on how to live an Ayurvedic lifestyle. Now, I'm going to infuse things like yoga and meditation and herbal medicine into that so you guys can really understand. And we'll do it more based on certain symptoms, lifestyle diseases and disorders, and disease in general, to help you guys get a general overview. But Ayurveda is mostly balanced through diet, exercise, meditation, yoga, herbal medicine, and detoxification of the body. Okay, so all of those things. Now, obviously, when we talk about balancing, we're not only talking about the physical body, we're talking about the emotional body as well. We're talking about the spiritual body as well. So yeah, I mean, that it's like all of those things combined. Oh, you're very welcome, Leanne. Yeah. So Tirma says, maybe anxiety and depression. Thank you. So for anxiety, which is a Vata disorder, okay, depression can be either Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. It depends on the depression, okay? Depression is often seen, oh, I do have the book in Portuguese. I do. I do have it in Portuguese. I don't The Wheel of Healing with Ayurveda in Portuguese. I don't know if I have a copy of it. I know it's out there. I will not ship it out of the United States unless if you pay for shipping. I will ship it in the US otherwise. Yeah, so the Wheel of Healing with Ayurveda is actually it is in Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, English, and Chinese. I don't know if it's Mandarin. I'm not really sure. I know there are different dialects for Chinese, but yeah, it's in 5 languages. So for anxiety, which is a Vata disorder, so you're in Miami? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so I would say just email me at michellefondinauthor@gmail.com. And so anxiety is a Vata disorder. So the first thing you want to do for Vata is lower the number of, like, if you're dieting. So for example, if you're doing extreme dieting or you have done a cleanse or dieting recently, it's best to eat regularly and eat more grounding foods to help get rid of anxiety. That is the first step. You want to start with grounding foods. So grounding foods are what? Potatoes, pastas, rice, butter, ghee, olive oil. So it's all those grounding foods, like, that are going to help to bring you down from all the space and air to bring you down to earth. Okay? So grounding foods are really going to help. The second thing that helps the Vata dosha with anxiety is meditation. Obviously, that's very grounding. So the third thing is daily routine. So you want to make sure you're getting to bed and waking up at the same time every day, that you're eating at the same hours every day. So Vata types actually, because they're hyper-metabolic, they need to eat about every 2 to 3 hours, something. Okay, they need to eat something about every 2 to 3 hours. Not rice cakes, not dry cereal, not crackers. Vata, since it's depleted of water, Vata needs watery foods and earthy foods. They need the hydration. A lot of times anxiety can mean that you're actually dehydrated. So I would say, that's a good start. You want to eat every 2 to 3 hours. You want to sleep regularly at the same time every day. You want to meditate. You want to eat grounding foods. And I would say the other thing would just be to have a network of friends that are good friends that you can really, really talk to when you start to feel that the anxiety is getting out of control. Slow moving yoga is really good, like hatha yoga or yin yoga even is really good. And the other thing is, if you're interested in taking herbs for anxiety, and I would always say if you're on a psychotropic medication for anxiety, you really do need to check with your healthcare practitioner first, because you don't want interference. But the 2 herbs that are really, really good in Ayurveda for anxiety are Brahmi, Brahmi. I had to think about. I think it's also called Gotu Kola, which is, I think that's the Indian name, but it's Brahmi. And then the other one is ashwagandha. So you can take Brahmi and ashwagandha for anxiety if you are not currently taking any other medications. And those are very gentle herbs, and they work really well for anxiety. Let's see. Oh, oh, you live in Italy? That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks. Hi, Laura. How are you? And I don't know what your name is. I see NTM. Hello. I take it you're from Brazil or Portugal, either of those places that speaks Portuguese, right? So yeah, I would say for next week, if you guys are interested, I will be teaching, not learning. I will be teaching more about Ayurveda, meditation, and yoga with every single live stream at noon on Thursdays for an hour. Come to me with your questions and concerns about health, wellness, lifestyle diseases, Ayurveda. The links to get the books are below if you're interested. I'll take one more question. Laura says, is it important that I meditate with the same music every day, or can it be different ones? Okay, here's my philosophy on meditation, you guys. I teach a very particular meditation called primordial sound meditation. It's a mantra-based meditation technique where you meditate with your own mantra, and you meditate in silence. You don't meditate with music. So, and the reason is because the goal of meditation is to turn all of your senses inward, toward your inner self, your inner peace, your inner light. Anything that draws you outside of you, out of that, is not turning inside. So while there can be value to listening to music while you meditate, it's best that you have total silence. So, and sometimes, like I said, sometimes it's not preferable, because if you are in the middle of a crowded space and you really want to tune in and there's way too much noise going on, then yeah, I mean, sometimes you need some noise. But I would say instead of doing noise like meditation music, do rain sounds or ocean sounds or bird sounds or something like that. Like, if you really need the distraction away from what's happening, go for more nature sounds, I would say. Yeah, definitely. But the type of meditation that I do teach, and it's a wonderful, like, honestly, I never wanted to meditate before. But once I learned the mantra-based meditation, the silent meditation, it's like that has been the most transformative in my life. Overall, that's been the most transformative. So thank you guys so much for joining me on the live chat. I think we've got 14 watching right now. I don't think that's so bad for a first time, honestly. Most people are like, what is this Ayurveda stuff? I have no idea what that is. But yeah, so I'm really excited to do this. This is what I love doing, you guys. I love healing people. I love giving people practical tips on healing naturally versus having to be dependent on Western medicine, which is only becoming more expensive. It is becoming more exclusive, and it's making people sicker for the most part. It really is. Like, if you're really to look into it, it actually makes people sicker rather than bringing them. For emergency situations, Western medicine is great. Emergencies, acute conditions, it is great. But when you're dealing with an ongoing health issue, not so good. So I do Ayurvedic lifestyle consultations as well. I do an initial 90-minute consultation. It takes 90 minutes to get your mind-body type, your state of balance, your state of imbalance, your health history, the recommendations to help balance your doshas. I do that. So if you are interested, or someone you know is interested in getting an Ayurvedic consultation with me, please email me at michellefondinauthor@gmail.com. Otherwise, have a little fun with it, you guys. Do an Ayurvedic mind-body type test. And when you come to me next week, come to me with questions about the doshas. Come to me with questions about lifestyle diseases or imbalances, or how to get back into balance about certain things. So thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I'm so excited. I love this stuff. So yeah, come to me next week with your meditation questions, Ayurveda, and yoga questions. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much. Have a great afternoon.